Yeah, sweet. I'm excited to be here. A little nervous at the same time. Jen just called me out of the blue and just said, "Hey, I'd love for you to speak." But I'm very grateful for her doing that. First thing I wanted to kind of touch on is her reaching out to me is me getting out of my comfort zone, and that's what it requires to be successful at anything you guys put your minds to. So, to introduce myself, I am Chris Leonard, born and raised here in Utah. Grew up in Sandy, went to Hillcrest High School. Played a little bit of baseball, a little bit of golf, enjoyed being in the outdoors. From a young age, I always loved helping other people. That's what I really found kind of my purpose of life, in a way, I guess you could say, is I loved helping others. So I'd go door to door, knocking on doors, saying, "Hey, can I mow your lawn?" That's how literally my career kind of started when I was super young. 8 years old, I started knocking doors, asking people if I could mow their lawns and whatnot. So then I also had lemonade stands, my own paper routes, different things like that. So that's a little bit about me. I've served an LDS mission as well. That's helped me kind of get to where I'm at. A lot of discipline. If any of you guys have been on a mission, you guys understand that. A lot of organization as well. That's what has helped me with my success. So I'd like to thank Jen for this opportunity, and I'd like to thank this building that we're able to meet in to be able to present to you guys. And thank you for all of you that are here with us today, whether in here in person or just on the web. So what I'm going to cover today is kind of my past in business and what I have done to get to where I'm at. The first thing is, like I said, is a young age, is knocking doors for mowing lawns. I did painting of the little curb numbers. You guys have seen those, the little numbers on the curb. I've done that. I've done, also I've knocked doors for the church and collecting tithings, things like that. At a young age of about 8 years old, I started to get into scouting. I feel that that's definitely helped me to get to where I'm at. I received my Eagle rank, which is a huge accomplishment. And if any of you guys in this room have had that, you guys understand what that takes. I got into sales probably shortly after, it was actually during high school. I started managing a ski shop. I worked as just an employee, kind of watched how the managers did it, how they ran the company, how they ran managing the employees, and I kind of envied them. I wanted that job. What I loved about that job was setting people up on skis. It was a rental booth, or I would sell skis or snowboards, but I loved setting them up, especially on the rentals, where they would actually come get the skis, go up, go skiing, come back, and tell me how great they love the skis and how the wax job that I did was great, different things like that. Or if I'd sell it, if they'd come back in and say, "Chris, I love those skis that you recommended me." So I really enjoyed doing that. Then after I worked at the Ski&C for a few years, I also started working at American Eagle. All of you guys are familiar with that store. I learned how to sell clothes. I was really good at that. I was always top at the company, in top 10 nationwide. Also in just that, I worked at the Fashion Place Mall, just at that one location. I was always at the top. Also with the credit card sales, different things like that. Let's see, then after my LDS mission, I came back and I managed the ski shop again. After the ski shop, that was in the winter time. I got back in October, managed it until March, April time. Then I had a friend come to me, one of my old mission companions, that said, "Hey Chris, last year I went out and made about $30,000, whatever it was, in a few months selling alarms door to door in California." And I said, "Well, I like California. I want to travel." So I said, let's go do it. I want to do it with you. So I went out. It was my first summer. I only sold about 60 accounts, which isn't a significant amount, but I made about $30,000 just in a few months. From there, the next 6 years I did door-to-door for alarms. And in between the summer times when I had the summers off, or not the summers off, excuse me, the winters off, I would go and I worked at a cell phone kiosk selling phones. I think my favorite thing about sales and why I kind of got into sales is because I like to find what people's needs and wants are and make sure I give them exactly what their needs and wants are. All of you guys have probably had somebody knock on your door, or you've gone into a store where somebody is super pushy. I'm not a pushy type of sales guy. I literally ask the qualifying questions, the things that I feel fit to help them find what their needs and wants really are, and kind of narrow that down into which would be the best for them. Let's see here. So after going door to door for that first summer, I kind of really learned what I failed at and what I succeeded at. Like I said, I only did 60 or so accounts, which was about $20,000 to $30,000. Then the next summer, I wanted to double that. I went from the 60 to about 75. Then the next summer, I went to about 100. Then the next year, it was about 150, and then it just kept climbing up from there, and so did my income. What I started to do with that income is I wanted my money working for me, so I started to invest in little things like stocks, IRAs, I had a little 401k, a lot of different things I wanted to do to have my money working for me. One thing, the reason I also love sales, and the reason I got into that, is because I had a few jobs like American Eagle where I was trading my time for money. And that's one thing that I kind of was upset about, is I would go and spend 6 to 10 hours or 12 hours, however many hours it was, for this set pay. I mean, I didn't like that. I don't like being restricted. A lot of us in this room probably have hourly paid jobs. But the reason I kind of wanted to get out of that is, instead of trading my time for money, I wanted to be able to write my own paychecks. How many of you guys write your own paychecks? Yeah, so just a few in the room? Okay. That's one of my favorite things about being in sales, is the harder I work, the more I put into it, the more I get out of it. Where the harder I work at a job where I'm trading my time for money, yes, I can get an increase, but it's about 6 months or a year down the road typically, right? And so in that 6 months to a year, when they do give you that raise, it's typically maybe 75 cents or $1.25 or whatever it is. So it's not a significant amount. So as I kind of learned, and I had those jobs where I was getting paid hourly, I said, you know what, I don't like somebody telling me what to do. I don't like being restricted on my pay. I want to find something that I can grow. And so that's why I did alarms for years, is because I was writing my own paychecks. And the harder I worked, the more time I put into it, the time I spent studying, the more I was getting out of it. Let's see, and the other reason I was also in alarms was because I love to travel. I've sold in Chicago, Indianapolis, Arizona, Denver, California, Oregon. So I've kind of traveled around, so I've been able to see the nation at the same time that I was able to make money, make friends, and ultimately protect families. That's what I was out there for. One of my funny things about me selling alarms is I was always the rep. I always did okay. I wasn't the top rep. But one of the things that I always did was I always discounted my deals, my alarm deals for customers. Kind of going back to what I said, what I love is helping and finding what people's needs and wants are. But I always gave them the best deal I can. And it affected my commission. But I felt better walking out of that home knowing that I helped that person. I gave them a really good deal. All right, so then once I got into alarms, I was doing that for 6 years. When I was doing that for 6 years, I had a friend come to me that probably my second year I worked with him. He came to me, and I lived in Rancho Cucamonga, California, if any of you are familiar with it. He came to me and said, Chris, I own my own alarm company. I was working for a different company at the time, and he said, Chris, I want you to come help me grow a solar company. Let's start a solar company. And it's kind of funny he brought that up, because I was living in California, and solar was getting very, very big at that time. And so I said, well, I have a commitment with this company right now for the next 3 months, so I can't commit to you right now. He's like, well, we need to get it going sooner than later. So I continued on with the company I was currently with for that next 2 to 3 months, and then I went to work with him. He owned his own alarm company, so I was able to still sell alarms while making money to be able to grow the solar company. So once the 2 to 3 months was up, I said goodbye to the other company. I actually went in, sat down with the owners and said, hey, nothing against you guys. I just have an opportunity that I think is something I should definitely take on. And they warned me, just said, hey, be careful. Starting companies can be very, you can get taken advantage of from different, some of the different employees, or it can go really bad. So just be very careful. So I appreciated them for that. And I said, I think this will be a good opportunity for me. So me and a friend, 2 of us, once I moved down to California, I literally packed up my car, packed up my house, moved down to California, because I moved from Rancho Cucamonga back to Utah, and then I moved back down to start it. Found a house to live in and started it. It was 2 of us in a living room. And I remember the first day we said, all right, we need to find a solar company that we can be a dealer for. What a dealer program is you guys have all probably been in the mall. You've probably seen Diamond Wireless, which is a dealer for Verizon. They just sell Verizon's products. That's exactly what we did. Is we found a solar company that was a big company, had a reputable name, that we know we could help grow their company as we grew our side. So we went to a company called Solar City. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it, but they're the nation's largest solar company. The guy who started that is called Elon Musk, or his name is Elon Musk. He's the one who's helped start Tesla, SpaceX, and then Solar City. So we saw that they were the largest. We went to them and we said, we want to become a dealer for you guys. We want to work for you guys. And they kind of laughed at us because my experience was just alarms for 6 years. All I've done is knock doors. I haven't started, hundreds of companies or a couple companies where they're super successful. And they kind of literally laughed at us and said, well, why do you feel that we should do business with you guys? And I said, because we can bring a lot of customers to your database and help you guys grow. And at the same time, we achieve our goals. And they said, all right, we'll go out and get us 125 referrals in about 3 months, and we'll talk. And so we said, all right, we did it in 3 weeks. Me, 2 other guys, we grabbed a few other guys that have knocked doors before, and we said, okay, that's a challenge. Challenge accepted, let's do this. So we went out and we got those, and like I said, about 3 weeks, 125 referrals, and all we got paid on those referrals, those guys made thousands of dollars off of it. We got about $150 per referral. So not a substantial amount where they're making a couple $1,000s per customer. So we went to them and they said, well, we gave you guys 3 months, you did it in 3 weeks. That's pretty impressive. We said, all right, so let's get into business. Let's become a dealer for you guys. So we became a dealer for them, and then the first month that we were in business with them, they said, we want you guys to do 125 kilowatts. Okay, so almost the same. Instead of referrals, they want us to sell 125 kilowatts. 125 kilowatts, if you guys aren't familiar with that, what that is each home, the system size is based off of kilowatts. The average system size is 5. So they wanted us to do that in a month. We did about 220 in a month. So then we went back to them and they said, that's really impressive. What are you guys doing? What we did is we took their sales process, we saw their sales process and how they worked it and how a sales guy went inside, sat down, and what his process was like, and we fine-tuned it. Instead of us going in like they were, how they go in, sit down, kind of talk to the customer about solar and how it works, get their energy usage. They would leave, go build a proposal. It takes 30 minutes or to an hour, schedule another visit to come back, go over the proposal, then they'd sign everything, and then they have a site surveyor come to survey the property. Well, we said, well, why don't we, instead of doing 2 visits, why don't we do it all in one? With alarms, we'd knock on doors and do a same day. Everything's done the same day, so that's what we wanted. So we went ahead and tweaked the process and found a way that we can make it a lot more efficient and smoother. Then once we did that first month of 220 kilowatts, the next month they said, okay, now we want you guys to hit 220 kilowatts again. Then that second month in, we did 300 kilowatts. So every month we just surpassed the goals and the quotas that they asked us to. So I was super excited about that. Then we started bringing on all these new hires, all these new employees, and we were growing pretty fast. We actually needed another investor, somebody to come in with millions of dollars to be able to help us grow, because we weren't going to be able to grow with just my pocket, my wallet or my friend Dan's wallet. So I went back to the alarm company that I previously had worked for, that I said goodbye to, and said, guys, we need your help. We're growing this company. We're doing really well. We're a dealer for the nation's largest solar company. We need your guys' help. So then they came on as investors. So it's really funny how they came on to help us invest in the company, because I left and they said, be careful. But the next thing you know, they were working with us side by side. So to kind of sum that up, we went from 2 of us in a living room, literally had a pen and piece of paper, and we wrote down all the different people we'd like to hire, what positions they'd be good at. And in a year and a half, we had 350 employees nationwide. We had offices in New Jersey, New York, California, Oregon, Arizona, Colorado. So we were in about 6 or 7 different states. My job there at the company was a corporate trainer. I traveled all across the nation to all those different markets to help train people on the products. And one thing that I'm known for is if you guys have ever heard of it, KISS, keep it stupid simple. And that's the main thing that I train on, is keeping it very simple. So if any of you guys are in sales, make sure that you guys are keeping it as simple as you can for the customer. What I always trained my employees on was treat the customer at the door, the person at the door, like it's your friend or a family member, instead of like just throwing up on them and pitching them and giving them all the information you know. You know, if I was to come to this gal on the front row and she was a good friend of mine, I would talk to her and explain what my job is to her way differently than if I'm to knock on a door and just talk to this random person, right? So keeping it super simple is super important in sales. Let's see here. So that growth was super big. 300 from 2 of us, 350 employees nationwide in a year and a half. We became the largest sales-only company, the dealer sales-only company. We didn't do installations or anything like that. We'd just sell it, hand it over to Solar City. They would do all the installation, customer service, stuff like that. But we became the largest in the nation, just in a year and a half. And a lot of that was because of a few things. And that was just hard work, dedication, mindset, and having a why. If you guys don't have a why for anything that you're doing, any job that you have, if you don't have a why you're there, reconsider where you're at. Think about why you're really here, what you really like. So that will definitely help. All right, so as I trained hundreds of people across the nation, that's where I really felt really good. All these other managers and the regionals, the CEOs were making a lot more money. I was one of the part owners. I had some equity in the company as well, but I wasn't making as much as all these other guys. But I wasn't in it for the money. I was more in it to help other people. And if any of you guys have talked to any successful people that have been really well off, it's because they've helped other people. They've duplicated themselves to become successful. Okay, so if you guys are getting into business, things like that, make sure that you keep it simple and you guys are duplicating yourself, but have more care for the people you're helping, not for your wallet. If you're in it for the money, you're in it for the wrong reason. One of my favorite quotes is from Bob Marley, believe it or not, but he said, money is numbers and numbers never end. So if you think of money is going to make you happy, that's wrong, because numbers are never going to end. You're just going to want more and more and more. You're not going to find that happiness. Okay, so pretty cool quote. So after we became the largest sales-only solar company in the nation, we were doing 30% of Solar City's monthly business, where they had 3 times the amount of employees than us. So we had several different companies: SunEdison, the world's largest renewable energy company; NRG, one of the second largest nation's largest solar companies; Solar City. All these different companies were coming to us and said, what are you guys doing? How have you guys gone from 2 of you in a living room to 350 employees and doing 30% of the nation's largest solar company? And we just told them we fine-tuned the process. We have kept it very simple for the homeowners to transition from paying a power bill to owning their own power source on their own roof. And then we went through all these different solar companies to see who we'd want to be acquired by. All these companies were offering us millions of dollars to come and to flow into them and to work with them. And we ended up going with a company called SunEdison. They were the world's largest solar company in the nation. They've done wind, or not in the nation, excuse me, in the world. So they're in all the tons of different countries. I think it was 12 different countries. And they did solar, wind, hydroelectric, a bunch of the different ways to provide renewable energy. They came to us and we entertained that. And to us, I thought that was awesome. You know, I went from a year and a half helping grow a company to about to be acquired by the world's largest company. So we entertained all these different companies, and SunEdison said, you know what, let's do this. We want you guys to start our direct sales team. They didn't have a direct sales team that went door to door and sold solar panels. And so we got acquired by them for $54 million after just a year and a half of growing that company. That was super, it's crazy to find the right word for that. It was a super, I guess, a blessing. I was super excited. I was on cloud 9 just thinking, wow, this is the next step. I've started to help start a company. We've gone from 2 of us to 350 employees, and now it's going to expand into, I can't even imagine what this is going to blow up to be. So I was super excited for that. We started training, started hiring. 3 months in, they put us on a hire freeze. The reason they put us on a hire freeze is at the same time they acquired us, even though we did our diligence and kind of looking into the company, they acquired 6 other companies for millions and billions of dollars. So they're financially all of a sudden not stable. So after us signing all the papers, we get a notice that they're not financially doing as well as we thought. The $54 million was over a 3-year period of time, where the first year we got $7 million, and that was divided amongst everybody to be able to divvy out to all the owners and shareholders, different things like that. And like I said, 3 months in, they put us on a hire freeze, so we couldn't hire anymore. I literally had people coming to our doors like ready to go, ready to work. Everybody was wanting to come work with us, but I had to tell them no, and I hated that. That was super hard for me to do that. So then from there, they couldn't get themselves out of this debt, even though they're cash flow positive when we first started. They couldn't get themselves out of debt. So then about 8 months later, they filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So that $54 million acquisition and everything, it didn't pan out exactly how we wanted. So life definitely hits us hard at times. But it's not how hard you get hit. It's about how I'll share a little video here in just a little bit. It's not about how hard life hits or how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you can keep going through that. Okay, and I know each and every one of you in this room or that are watching this right now have been through a hard time in your life, but obviously you're here for a reason, because you're pushing through that and you're trying to get yourself further. So don't ever stop. So that was really hard. I had a lot of successes while I was with that company. I was a wanted trainer. Every single manager, each market, different state, had a different manager and a different regional manager. And there was only me and 2 other trainers that traveled the nation. So I was gone almost once a week, every single month. Then it turned into 2 weeks every single month. And every single manager wanted me to come and help train their employees, train their new hires on how to knock doors and how solar works. The CEO also came to me and said he wanted to duplicate me times 10 because I just keep it super simple and I train the guys on the information they need. And every time I'd make a trip to each different market, I boosted the numbers. And a lot of that reason is because I was very organized. I literally had a notebook. I was pen to paper. You know, obviously I still had a smartphone. I could put everything in my calendar, but I was pen to paper every single day. At night, I'd plan out my day. I'd put in exactly what appointments I had, what trainings I was going to have, and that's what I feel caused a lot of my success, is how organized I was, doing pen to paper, making sure I had my to-do list, everything was marked off, and I was always checking those things off. Some of my biggest failures that I had was one, I feel that we didn't research SunEdison very well. So if you guys are looking into something, you have an idea, do your diligence. Work hard at researching that company, finding everything out about them, about their vision, about their future plans, about different companies that they're acquiring, especially if it's 6 in just a period of 3 months. It's not a very smart business decision, right? Just a few months for millions and billions of dollars, that's what caused them to go under. One of my other failures that I had is we also didn't do just door-to-door. We actually also set up booths at different events. I worked booths at the Anaheim Angels, at the LA Clippers, at the Boston Red Sox, some hockey teams across the nation. And that's where we'd get leads, hand out team gear like Red Sox gear or Angels gear to these different homeowners that set times with us to go show the appointments. But I remember one of my biggest failures was, it was our first day opening for the Red Sox. We had a huge booth, big table with a big spinning wheel with all these prizes to give out to homeowners when the kids would come up and spin a wheel while their big line. It was the biggest line that I ever dealt with. It was at the Red Sox stadium because of the spinning wheel. It's pretty crazy how the spinning wheel just grabs so much attention. So if any of you guys are doing booths or whatnot, just get a spinning wheel, it helps. But we had sunglasses, we had koozies, we had bottle openers, we had candy, we had tons of different stuff, and we had a huge banner. But we ended up getting like 47 leads in like a 2-hour period, which is pretty good. And unfortunately, my failure that I had was I was taking names and everything down in notes on my iPad. Well, when I turned off my iPad or it died, when I plugged it back in, all of those were gone because I didn't hit save. So I had this SunEdison company come to me, all the bigwigs come to me and say, all right, you guys did a great job, 46 leads. Can you send a breakdown over and kind of how many you've already converted in this week? And I had to send them a huge email of how I failed. That was hard to just say, hey, that was millions of dollars that I just lost the company and thousands of dollars they just spent on a contract. It was about a $50,000 contract for the Red Sox. So make sure you're always charging your devices. Make sure you have a backup battery if you're going to be doing something like that. But yeah, I lost a lot of those leads, so that was pretty hard. They weren't too happy about that. All right, so I'm going to share this brief little video with you guys. Kind of talks about some of the things that I've covered today. You guys have seen this. But I love the way that he addresses this to his son and the things in here because it's super true.
You know, living with you, it hasn't been easy. People see me, but they think of you. Now with all this going on, this is going to be worse than ever.
It don't have to be.
No, sure it does.
Why? You got a lot going on, kid.
Well, my last name? That's the reason I got a decent job. That's the reason why people deal with me in the first place. Now I start to get a little ahead. I start to get a little something for myself, and this happens. Now I'm asking you as a favor not to go through with this, okay? This is only gonna end up bad for you, and it's gonna end up bad for me.
You think I'm hurting you?
Yeah, in a way you are.
That's the last thing I ever wanted to do.
I know that's not what you want to do, but that's just the way that it is. Don't you care what people think? Doesn't it bother you that people are making you out to be a joke and that I'm going to be included in that? Do you think that's right? Do you?
You ain't gonna believe this, but you used to fit right here. I'd hold you up and say to your mother, this kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching you every day. Was like a privilege. Then the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. I'm always gonna love you no matter what. No matter what happens. You're my son, you're my blood. You're the best thing in my life. But until you start believing in yourself, you ain't gonna have a life. Don't forget to visit your mother.
Okay, did you guys like that? I love that video. I love to share that with guys that are in cells because there's so many days that you go out on the doors, or you're in you're in a store, you're trying to sell something, and you feel like you failed. You got a zero, and you feel like it just gets really hard, or you start blaming things on other people, like you're saying, pointing your fingers. But I love the part where he also says you're only as good as you feel that you're worth, right? Along those lines. So go out and get what you're worth. And so that's one reason I stopped trading my time for money, is I said, you know what, why am I letting somebody else tell me how much I can make? How many hours I can only work per week? How many hours I can work per month? I went out there and I said, you know what, I'm worth more than this. And I've gone from making $30,000 and making over six figures for a few years in a row, because I told myself that I'm worth more than that, and I pushed for it. I worked hard for it. And so you got to believe in yourself and push hard for anything that you want in your life. Don't blame other people. I got 5 pieces of advice that I want to go over with you guys. Okay? That I feel that have definitely helped me. The first thing is mindset. If you don't have a good positive mind about anything that you're doing, rethink it, sit down, and train yourself to think positive about any situation. When Jen called me, I thought negative really quickly. Like, hey, can you come talk in front of a few people? Could turn into 500 people or so because it's going to be recorded. I thought negative. I was like, oh man, I might not be good at that. There's going to be all these people. They might point at me. They might laugh at me. They might this and that. You know what? I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm doing something that other people haven't. So it's helping me grow. If you're not stepping outside of your comfort zone, you're not going to get anywhere. Just plain and simple. Okay, so until you guys are being uncomfortable in all the different things you're doing, you're not going to have much success. So the most powerful thing we have is our mind. We have to train our minds to the things that we want. Okay? And one thing that has helped me is a vision. Whenever I sought after something, when I sat down with 2 of us, we literally had a whiteboard and we just drew our vision on the board of where we wanted to be, where we could see it going. And we wanted to be acquired. We want to be bought out. And we did it in a year and a half. We were thinking maybe 3 years. Right? We had a vision. We ran with it. We trained our minds to always be progressing and pushing forward, and we did it. And to touch on vision, one thing that I've always had, and I feel everybody should have, is a vision board. On the side of my bed, every time I wake up, every single morning, or before I go to bed, I have my goals, different things that I want to achieve, whether that's a new car, or I want to get a degree by this period of time, or I want to have this object. I put anything on there, and I put a time frame of when I want to hit that by. And The reason why I have that is you're training your mind. If you're looking at it every single day and you're talking to it, it might be kind of weird. I literally talk to my vision board and I say, this is why I want this. This is why I'm going to hit it. I'm going to get this because of this. And I talk to that. And as you're doing that, you visualize it. It trains your mind to push harder, and it trains your mind to achieve that. So if you guys don't have a vision board, or you don't have something that, or you can put it on your mirror, you can put it anywhere, make sure you're writing down your goals and you see those, you visualize it every single day. Okay? Second thing is a why. Okay, I've touched on that a little bit. But if your why's not strong enough to make you cry, then you need to find a different why, or find a different thing, okay? Find your why, and if you don't have a why, you're not going to have success. My why was because I had a bad back and neck, and I wanted to make the money to be able to fix my bad back and neck from car accidents and a snowboarding accident that I was involved in. Not only that, but I wanted to be able to provide for my kids when I have kids. I don't have kids yet, but I want to be able to give my kids a life that I never had. I want to give them the things that I never had. And also to provide for my wife. I'm not married yet. I'm close. I'm blessed with a beautiful woman in my life that helps me push harder each day. So those are my whys, okay? So you guys make sure you make those. Excuse me. Next thing, number 3, is hours. Okay, if you're not putting hours into something that you want, you're not going to have success. How many of you guys have played sports before? Okay, all of us. We understand that. We understand hours. You know, you can't become an amazing basketball player, an amazing golfer, without putting hours into it. One of the things I have on my vision board is I want a 1 handicap by the end of the year. Well, I'm at 8. I got a lot of work to do. I got a lot of hours I need to spend on the golf course, on the range, on practicing, on doing my research, on asking for tips. If you guys want to be successful, watch what successful people are doing, right? How do you think Bill Gates got to where he's at? He watched and surrounded himself with successful people. And that's a huge thing, guys, is surrounding yourself with like-minded people. If you're always hanging out and associating yourself with people that are negative or bringing you down, that's not good. In order to be successful, you got to surround yourself with like people. Okay, so do your research on what you want, and put in the time to get it. What you put into, or you don't get out of it. Excuse me. This quote: "You only get out of it what you put into it." And that's true for anything: sports, relationship, for school. Right? You can't get an A without putting in hard work, right? So you only get out of it what you put into it, and that's a quote I've always used. Okay, 4th thing is be humble. Okay, if somebody comes to you and says you're doing something wrong, or they feel that you can be doing something in a different way to become more successful, listen to them. There's a lot of times where people come, people have came to me and they say, "Hey, Chris, I think you should be doing this, or I think you should be doing that differently." And I get a little negative. I'm like, why? Who are you to tell me what I'm doing wrong or whatever, right? No, but take that advice and figure out how you can apply that advice into your life. So be humble. Don't always think that you're the best, and be coachable. Okay? If you're not coachable, you're not going to have success. And that's one reason I feel that our company had success, is we were coachable. We reach out to the mentors or the different people that we have in our life to help us get through that. And like I said before, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how many people you help. Okay? So always remember that. 5th thing is persistence. Okay? Never give up. So after that company acquired us, they filed bankruptcy. I literally just was in this little hole. thinking I was going to have thousands of dollars, millions of dollars that I can go put down on a house. I can start building my family. I can do all these different things. And I just got in this little dark hole, this little rut that I just couldn't get out of. I was just like, man, I worked so hard for nothing. That's what I felt like, right? So like Salone said, I just felt like it beat me to my knees. I put all this work and effort in and traveling 2 weeks a month, saying goodbye to my friends, to my family, to my girlfriend. And I always had to put all that on hold, go out, work really hard, come back, and it was really tough. But now I'm at a new company after they filed bankruptcy. A bunch of us got laid off. All the different departments were getting laid off. We didn't get all the millions of dollars that we wanted, but I didn't let that hold me down. I continued on. I had persistence and said, well, I'm on to the next thing, right? I'm on to the next. And now I'm with a company called Solcius Solar. If any of you guys have heard of them, we're out of Provo, Utah. We're also in California. We're about to open up Texas, South Carolina, Idaho. Probably going to open up in 6 months an office in Puerto Rico. But they've only had a dealer program. We're Evolve. We were a dealer for Solar City. And this company's only had several dealers that are just a dealer for them. So we went to them, a few of us, and just said, hey, we want to start your direct sales side and grow the company. So here I am 2 months in, and I've been the top office in the company 8 weeks out of 9 weeks. There's 1 week I lost to all the other teams, and I lost by 0.31. I was pretty upset because I wanted that rank. I wanted to be at the top. Not for the pride and to boast and pound my chest, but I wanted to show to my team that they are good. They have what it takes to do it. I couldn't do it without my teammates. So persistence, never get up. You got to keep moving forward through everything. So mindset, why, hours, humble, and persistence. Okay, I feel that has gotten me to where I'm at today. So to wrap this up, guys, those are the pieces of advice that I would recommend you guys really taking in consideration, the things that you're doing, the things that you're working for. Push very hard. Don't ever let anything get in your way. Make sure you have a vision board. If you guys don't have one, try it. I promise you it works. I've taken some crazy things off of there, and I didn't even know how I was going to hit it. Next thing you know, I'm like, holy crap, I get to go home and take that off now. Super exciting. Then I have a little book. I take the stuff off of my vision board, I put it in a book so I can save it for later, and I can remember that feeling of when I was able to take that off and feel that accomplishment. You guys obviously are in school, you graduated high school, you know what it feels like to accomplish something. So training yourself, continually doing that in everyday life will help you get to where you want to go. Again, I appreciate this opportunity. I hope that I've been able to give you guys a few pieces of advice that you will find valuable, that you can use in your life, in your business, or in your personal life. And if you guys have any questions, you want to talk to me after, I'm more than welcome to answer any questions. But thank you for your time, guys.